Welcome back. Now let's talk politics. Executives of the People's Democratic Party in Ward 9 of Ogbia Council area of Bayelsa State have rejected the suspension of the party leader, George Turner, by the State Working Committee. They argue that the state ESCO violated the PDP's constitution in the process. I will have more in this report.
The State Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party in Bayelsa State had earlier announced the suspension of George Turner as the leader of the party due to alleged gross misconduct involving him and several other South zonal officials. But for these executive members of PDP Ward 9 Ogbia, led by its chairman, Progress Ederi, say they are rejecting the suspension because it was not done in good faith.
Honorable George Turner, MN, is a leader of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Ogbia Ward 9. And he so remain. We welcome and endorse the appointment of Honorable George Turner as the acting secretary of the party South Zone. By the conclusion of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, only the Ward Executive Committee can suspend the membership of Honorable George Turner.
These leaders have threatened a mass defection from the party if the alleged unconstitutional suspension is enforced.
We therefore ask the National Working Committee to caution the State Working Committee, make sure they never adhere to their suspension. And definitely, if they refuse to adhere to the call of the National Committee, the National Committee should take disciplinary actions against the State Working Committee.
We are supposed to communicate with the ESCO if they've noticed any breach. Then we are going to write to them and follow the party constitution, which we are going to give him a formal notice, which is supposed to respond in a month's time and to defend himself in person. If he has not done so, then they can take all necessary action. But in this case, nothing was done. They just suspended him without any formal notice, and that is null and void according to the PDP constitution.
But for George Turner, he sees the situation as a family affair. He believes that the matter would be resolved amicably with the leaders of the party in Bayelsa State.
Away from politics to other stories, Nigeria's Ministry of Women Affairs, gender-based groups, religious and humanitarian organizations have called for 10 years imprisonment with no option of fine for perpetrators of female genital mutilation in the country. They also warned the disparity in the period of bereavement between widows and widowers to be breached. National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa reports.
Widowhood and harmful traditional practices have been brought to the fore as the House Committee on Women Affairs takes input from the public on a bill seeking to allow widows and widowers to take leave with full pay to mourn deceased spouses. More often, widows are subjected to agonizing situations and inhumane conditions. They are also not allowed adequate time to mourn and get over the loss of their husbands. The Speaker, represented by the Deputy Chief Whip, and the committee underscored the need for compassion and elimination of all forms of harmful traditional practices against the widow.
This practice is unacceptable, not only because it is inimical to the growth of the girl child, but it is also against her human rights and dignity.
The second bill seeks to address the need for widowhood leave, recognizing the profound emotional and psychological toll that the loss of a spouse can have on an individual.
Hope Nwakwezi is a widow of 31 years. She shares her experience.
Proposed widowhood bill, though laudable, should be comprehensive enough to incorporate availability of framework for widowhood data.
The committee also takes contributions for the bill, seeking to provide severe penalties to perpetrators of female genital mutilation.
We state without fear of contradiction that the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists will always be in support of any development that truly enhances the well-being of women, children, and men who make up the family unit.
Stiffer penalties will not only prevent, but it will act as a deterrent, making perpetrators to think twice before they embark on the act.
The committee appeals to all citizens to contribute towards creating a society that values human rights and supports those in mourning. Participants at the public hearing agree that the proposed leave, if granted, will reflect a society's compassion for the bereaved and promotes a culture of understanding and support during life's most challenging times. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
And back here in Lagos State, Justice Alexander Owoye of the Federal High Court Ikoyi has ordered that music manager Ezekiel Oyedikachi be produced in court on the 6th of March for his arraignment for alleged theft of $345,000. The court also maintained that a warrant of arrest it issued in January against the former manager of gospel artist Mercy Chinwo still subsists. Kemi Foladeyemo has more.
In January 2025, the EFCC charged EZT with alleged fraudulent conversion after investigations into Mercy Chinwo's petition that he diverted the sum of about $345,000, representing royalty due to her without remittance. At the first hearing on January 16, the judge, in an ex parte application filed by the EFCC, owing to its inability to reach the defendant, issued an arrest warrant against him. At the next hearing, which was on January 24, lead defense counsel Monday Ubani, SAN, received the criminal charge from the prosecution on behalf of the defendants. He also informed the court of a preliminary objection filed by the defense challenging the charge. The case was then adjourned for arraignment, but on Monday, the defendant was again absent. His lawyer says EZT had a terrible accident earlier in the day and that he will appear at the next date. He also requested to formally argue his application challenging the jurisdiction of the court to hear the charge, but Justice Owoye said it will not hear such an application without the appearance of the defendant. Responding, the EFCC's lead counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, SAN, said the defendant had exhibited a show of shame and disrespect to the court by being absent twice and yet going on to grant media interviews within the court premises the last time. He also argued that by virtue of Section 396 subsection 2 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, an accused person can only raise an objection to a charge filed against him after his plea must have been taken, and that the court would then deliver a ruling on that application at the point the final judgment is being delivered. The prosecutor also applied for a fresh warrant of arrest against the defendant to compel his attendance at the next sitting, but the court said the arrest warrant it earlier granted still subsists. The judge also ordered both the EFCC and defense counsel to ensure the defendant is produced in court at the next sitting, March the 6th. Kemi Foladeyemo, TVC News, Lagos.